For this next empirical rule or normal distribution, I would like for you to kind of pause the video and see if you can sketch out that number line with a little curve, or if you don't need the curve, that's fine, and see if you can answer these questions before I go over them. So if you just want to hit the pause button, give that a shot, and then I'll go over it. All right, so here we go. I like to draw them a little picture, and it's going to be a pretty bad sketch here on the computer, but we'll give it a go. So here's my number line. There's my really bad curve. In the middle here is my mean. And so I was told that the mean was 143. And then I'm going to count by 1.5. So my next standard, up one standard deviation from 1.5 is going to give me 144.5. I'm going to have to squish this all in here. Out another standard deviation is going to give me 146. And I have to go out 3, so I'm going to go out 1 more, and that's going to give me 147.5. Filling in my percents, there's 34%, then 13.5%, then 2.4%, and then above that is that 0.1%. On the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to subtract the 1.5, my standard deviation that I gave you up here. So my first one's going to give me 141.5. Subtracting 1.5 again is going to give me 140. And then the last one would be 138.5. I can talk much faster than I can make this thing right. My percents are going to be the same because it's symmetric, so I'd have 34, then 13.5, then 2. Yikes. Let's see. There we go. So 13.5, then 2.4, and my 0.1, my little tiny percent. So I want to know how many students scored above 144.5. So that is, get back here, that's this line right here. So I know how many people scored above it. So that would be my 13.5% plus 2.4% plus 0.1% to give me 16%. This question asks for something slightly different, so if you stopped at 16%, no worries there. Completely understand why, but this one didn't want to know what percentage. It wanted to know how many students. So I told you there were 300 students, so I'm going to do 300 times 0.16 to give me 48 students total. So one little extra step there. Since it's a percent, I'm going to multiply by that decimal. Next, I want to know how many students scored below 146. So there's the line 146. I'm going to add going this way. Some people might think about a shortcut using 50%. That's completely fine to do that. If not, you can just add all these up. So 34% plus 34% plus 13.5% plus 2.4%. Oops. Gotta go put that plus in there. It's not going to calculate it for me. Plus 0.1%. And that's going to equal, well, I think I lost one in there. So I got my 34%, my 34%, 13.5. Oh, and I've got this other 13.5 right there. So I'm going to come back here and put 13. Come back right here and my 13.5%. And that is going to give me 97.5%. If I add the 13.5, the 34, the 34, the 13.5, the 2.4, and the 0.1. Again, I don't want any of the 97.5%. I need to know how many total students there were. So I'm going to take that 0.975 times, let's see, there were a total of 300 students, and that gives me 292.5 students. And if we're asked to round that, we'd round it to 293. Last question wants to know between what two scores does 68% of the data fall? When we have a question like this, we always want to start in the middle with our mean and add symmetric on both sides. So to start with, I would do 34% plus 34% to give me that 68%. That's what I needed so I could stop. Looking at the 34%, that one standard deviation would be 141.5. To another standard deviation would be 144.5. So that's where those scores were for the students. Hopefully you got those right, or maybe found where your mistake was if you didn't quite have them done.